Welcome, one and all, to another episode of A Scotsman Talks To. Thank you for joining us again on our Thursday night show, which is now going to be the permanent night for the shows. As I mentioned, Tuesday night is gone. They couldn't pay enough. They didn't supply the M&Ms or the pineapple for the pizza, no. So I sold out, and we are exclusively now on Thursday nights. Now, tonight's guest is a gentleman that, I'm going to be honest, I've only met a few times. And this is one of the great things about this show. I didn't want to just bring performers that I knew personally or really well onto the show. I wanted to bring a variety of people that even I'll be interested to find things out about. And to be honest, there was a moment before the show that I actually had one of those kind of double check I had booked the right person. When this gentleman made a comment about his wife, and I was like, I didn't know he was married. And I actually had to double check it was the right person I had booked. And that's what makes this show so much fun, because even after all the research I try and do on my guests, I nearly had a panic moment. Yes, there was definitely a slight bit of fear for me that I had booked the wrong person and some random hairy bearded man was going to appear on my screen. But ladies and gentlemen, tonight's guest I've met through the Fringe festivals here in Canada. He's an incredibly delightful and talented man. He is also, I will add, feeling a bit poorly. So he is still unwell, and he has made the effort to join us on this show. So I am even more pleased to announce tonight's guest on A Scotsman Talks To, Ryan Adam Wells. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ryan to the show.
Hey,
Ryan, how are you?
Well, you know, as well as I can be while being struck down with what is most likely the coronavirus.
Oh,
but I'm surviving.
Good, nice to hear it. And you are down in Texas, so you are kind of in one of the places which is definitely not doing so well for it either. So,
no, it's been pretty frustrating. I'm not a Texas native, but I've been living here for roughly six maybe 7 years now.
Right.
Yeah, it's been. I love a lot of things about Texas, but it's a shame that the coronavirus pandemic has really brought out the things that I do not love about it to the forefront.
What a shame.
It's been kind of frustrating.
Oh,
nobody wearing masks, everybody pretending like it's not a thing, you know?
Yeah. Oh, aren't we all? Well, we're accepting it, but just trying to get on with our lives. But we're in the same boat, because as performers, we're definitely having a problem in our daily lives, basically trying to do what we love. But Ryan, the best way to start this show is maybe just to introduce yourself. Tell the world a little bit about what you do and who you are, please, just so the audience knows who they are enjoying and viewing today with this luscious beard and hair. Always jealous every time I see you perform with that hair.
Well, I'll cherish it while I have it. It's probably only a couple more years, judging by my grandparents. But yeah, so I'm Ryan Adam Wells. I'm a singer-songwriter. I am a playwright. I'm an actor. I'm a director. I'm a trained improviser and teacher. And I like to say I do everything in the arts industry except dance. I'm not very good at dance.
Okay.
No matter how I try. But I'd say singer-songwriter is like the main thing that I put first and foremost, and Storyteller probably right behind it.
Excellent. And that's what I know you more as, because of the Fringes. I've seen a couple of your live shows, and yeah, definitely I've seen you with your guitar singing beautiful, fun, interesting, very thought-provoking pieces of work. So yeah, excellent.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I feel like there's not like at least on the Fringe Circuit, when I started on the Fringe Circuit, I was doing comedy. I was with the troupe Sound and Fury doing vaudeville nouveau. And while we were touring, I kept looking at like ways like, how can I insert myself as a solo act onto this circuit? And watching acts like Martin Dockery and John Bennett and all these amazing storytellers, I was like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. And like, it just made sense to tie my music into it and bring a guitar along. And so that helped me feel a little niche too, kind of, because there's not a whole lot of people doing that. which is
Well, that's it. I mean, storytelling is a huge thing, and for some reason people kind of disconnect it. Music is still storytelling. It's
Absolutely.
just with a tune to it, which can sometimes be a lot more appealing than just a voice on stage. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. So I love the fact that you did that, and also the fact that you realized, you know, I'm doing this wonderful group thing, but I'm not making the money with that, because that's the reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean,
how
you
can I
as
do
a
that?
Fringe performer, you can look at what you make as a solo artist, and then
Yeah.
that was divided in three. And
Yeah.
then like it was, I love working with those guys, but I had to come up with something else, or I was going to swiftly circle the drain financially.
Which is it's the hand to mouth scenario that some of us do live by. Sadly, you know, it's a weird thing. You make a lot of money, and half of it goes to the next Fringe.
Good Lord. Yeah. The one silver lining to all the Fringes getting canceled this year because of the COVID scare. The only silver lining is that I got all those Fringe registration fees back. And if I had not gotten those back, I would not have been able to survive.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
The next few
And
months.
I felt terrible asking for it back, but at the same time, I was like, no, I'm going to need it back. Yeah.
Yep. Have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
it
it's
also
one of
made
those
me
weird things, you know.
money on this.
Yeah.
It made me realize how much money I spend on it too. But
you know, I think people see that it's this. A few of the guests have spoken about stuff like this, and it's so true. You know, people see one side of what we do, but they don't realize, like, for example, a Fringe, it's like we've got a big fee to pay. And if we're lucky, we get a billet and we maybe get our travel paid, but we still got to pay for our food for the 10 days. We still then got to pay maybe $1,000 for flyers and posters and and marketing, and it's crazy. It's so expensive to.
And then if your bill is far away, you're paying for cabs home every night. You're paying for or a rental car. Or there's so many incidentals that people don't even think about. Yeah,
and flights. For example, you know, when I first came over here, I was coming from the UK to do a Fringe over here.
I've done Edinburgh twice.
Oh, Edinburgh's phenomenal, but you will agree it's such a huge monster now. It's impossible to make money in Edinburgh.
It's absolutely
decent money.
I've said before, I love it so much. I miss it a lot, but I will never go back and do it again unless I miraculously am granted some kind of like, here's 15 grand just to dedicate to that. Like just for that.
Yeah.
And then, oh, cool. Then I'll go. But beyond that,
there's a lot of theatre shows actually. And one of the things about Edinburgh that a lot of people don't know is some of the big companies go not to make money. They go simply for the headline, knowing that they're going to lose the money. Punch my mic here, and but basically to get the bigger shows elsewhere, which I just think is madness that you actually go to this Fringe, which costs it's 26 days of Fringe, and it costs a fortune. I was always lucky. I worked in the Scottish Storytelling Centre, and I did 2 shows a day, and because I was local, I actually made money, which apparently is like. Yeah, it's unheard of.
We were lucky enough to break even both times we went, which that alone, breaking even, that's incredible for an out-of-country artist at that Fringe. We were lucky we had good venues. We were in Underbelly and really nice rooms.
Oh, nice.
And so we were centralized, and we had catchy show titles, and we did them. We flyered in costume. And people were turned on by that, and it wasn't that hard to get a crowd, which was nice. But so many shows there just suffer, and I mean, the average audience attendance per show is something like 2.
Yes. Well,
so think about how many people are performing to no one.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it. I've seen it happen. It's crazy. The biggest problem is because in Edinburgh now there are fringes within fringes within fringes. Because I think there's 3 or 4 free fringes going on.
Oh my God.
So
I remember White Horse and Free Fringe.
I started my first ever Fringe in Edinburgh. I thought I'll give the Free Fringe a go because I didn't know what to expect. And it was my first and last. poor advertising they do for you. Venues are poor. And what I loved about it is you do your hat line like a street show, or a busker. And I had people come up to me and say, we really loved your show, but the brochure says it's free, so we're not paying.
Oh my God. Ugh.
You're just like,
Yes. Yeah.
So that was my first and last free Fringe, but that's the problem. There's some guys do amazing at them, but to be honest, the free Fringe damages the overall arc of the normal Fringe. So I'm glad that the Canadian ones don't do it.
I'm so thankful for the Canadian circuit. It's such a beautiful thing, and I'm so happy that they keep a limit on the shows. Like,
yes,
that's the only way for a Fringe really to survive at 4 artists.
Yeah.
If you just do unlimited, however many shows want to be in the festival, or they're all welcome, that kind of thing. Edinburgh's become a mess. The Australian circuit's become a mess. I did Australia for 5 years. I went every year and did Adelaide and Perth, and I loved those festivals. But they have no limit to shows, and it's impossible to make money now. Same as Edinburgh, and unlike Edinburgh, have people flooding the streets looking for shows. So there's a limited audience there, and they're just now spread. So it's impossible to get a full house unless you're a wild and crazy circus show,
Well, that's it. And Edinburgh at least has. It's got the draw. But what I always find funny is that most Fringes around the world are based on Edinburgh's model. They all went to Edinburgh and took their model. And now Edinburgh's like the craziest Fringe, but yet the Canadian ones have kind of went, no, we're gonna stick to the original model that people actually have to apply, and we cap it.
It's perfect.
Yeah, I'm
heartbroken to not be in Canada right now. Yeah, this will be my first year in 10 years not going to Canada for the summer. So I'm heartbroken. That's the worst thing about all this. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, it's very weird, Ryan, because as a performer, I know that you've got other performers I think you live with as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I obviously live with my beautiful wife. I'm very lucky that way. And but I find performing a very solitary lifestyle quite a lot of the time. So the Fringes and events like that, I love, because you actually get to meet all these other performers and meet new friends and hang out in dingy pizza Korean bars and you basically just chat till the wee hours in the morning, catching up about just nonsense. So this year I agree, this year's tough.
A lot of us are going through it. We're all kind of struggling. It's wild. You just remove something that has just become such a staple and an important part of our lives as traveling performers. Like removing that first word. like I've used those two things to describe myself for a decade now, and that first word is gone. Like it's hard. It's crazy. It's very different.
You also do other work, or you have done other work, because you work. I was basically stalking you on your Facebook, and it looks like you do a lot of it. Would it be Ren fairs, or is it a more physical, permanent thing that you do in one of these facilities?
Yes, Sound and Fury, the comedy troupe I mentioned earlier. We're a vaudeville troupe, so we kind of we parody, we take the piss out of various different genres, and Renaissance performance is where it started. It began as a Shakespeare parody group, Shakespeare, so there's a huge Ren Fair circuit in the U.S. There's do that all year round. There's a Ren Fair somewhere in the U.S. at any given moment. We've been doing that for a long time. The group's been around since '98. I joined up in 2010, but we've done all over California, all over the West, and then Texas Renaissance Festival is the biggest one in the world. It's a massive, massive Ren Fair. The grounds are twice the size of Disneyland. It's huge. It's a permanent location. It's closed the rest of the year, and then it opens up for 2 months in the fall. And it's just 90,000 people in over a weekend, and turkey legs and beer, and so many shows and so much to do and see. And everybody's in costume and everybody's having fun. It's a really cool thing. And it's the thing that actually brought me to Texas. We were spending 2 months out of the year here and touring for, another 5 to 6 months. And I was paying for an apartment in LA that I was living in for maybe 4 months out of the year.
Fancy pants.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, eventually I looked at my bank account and I looked at how long I was spending in California, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I just popped down in Texas, where it's a hell of a lot cheaper, and my music plays well here because I do alternative country, kind of Americana music. So didn't look back. And I met my wife at the rent fair too, so it all just kind of tied together. Look,
well, that's odd. I met my wife at a medieval fair. The Canadian lower key versions, because I will say the American ones are pretty amazing. But I my whole life is working, or so far since coming to Canada, a huge chunk of my business is working at medieval events up here, and having fun with that. So when I saw those images, I was just like, oh, cool. But yeah, you're doing it at a bigger scale. Wow.
I'm not kidding when I said earlier, I got my fingers in a little bit of everything when it comes to performing. I've spent a big chunk of the last 10 years emceeing burlesque shows too. That's a huge part of my life, just as a burlesque MC. My wife's a burlesque performer. So I just kind of joined up when she joined up, and I was like, I'll do something. What do you want me to do? Give me a microphone and just host the shows, And
you know what? MCing's great. I do a lot of MCing as well, and there's nothing, if you know how to talk, it's just give me that. I'll just and there's nothing worse than when you go to a show and you're just like, you've probably done it yourself. You've gone to watch a show and you're just like, I need to take the microphone off that person.
Yeah. To be fair, I've been the guy before where they're like, somebody should take this from me. I'm so off tonight. Like, well, I think that's a thing we've all experienced too. It's why am I? What is this? This is horrible. No one likes what's happening. But that's also how you grow, I guess.
Oh, God, yeah. You need to fall flat in your face to make it work. We've all done that.
I was so nervous the first time I emceed. I was so nervous because it was muscle to flex that I hadn't really done. I turned in improv for 15 years, and I taught improv for 10 years after that. But MC was such a different thing. Yeah. It was a different mode. I was terrified. So the owner of the burlesque bar saw how nervous I was, and he liked me. He thought it was funny. He'd seen my shows and stuff, and he was just like, "Okay, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna take this shot, and then we're gonna take another." And then he just kept them coming, and I got so fucking drunk. I got so drunk that I completely blacked out, and I don't remember him seeing the show. And it was a hit. I just Dean Martin'd the shit out of it. It worked. Yes. He offered me the job the next morning, like a full-time job. And he was like, "It was great. We loved it." Apparently I fell off the stage at one point during the show while talking. And apparently I fell off onto my ass. I stood up and looked at the audience and said, "Level with me. Has that been here all night?" Pointing at the stage. It's the best joke I'd ever written. I wrote it completely black out.
You know what? That's awesome. I love the fact that you did that, because I once made a mistake of drinking before doing a performance and never forgave myself, and I've never drank again before a show.
Dang.
I always admire guys that can have a couple of pints and go and do their thing, or have a few whiskeys and go and do their thing. I'm always so terrified to do it now.
For me, it completely varies depending on what the show is or what kind of show it is. MC, whatever. I'll get a little toasty. But like if I'm going to do one of my storytelling shows, I gotta be water, and then crack one beer during the show, like because it's a prop thing,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, water's a must. Yeah, I love it. Actually, the first ever theatre piece I ever tried to do was a clan show, and I was so nervous of public speaking that my boss took me and plied me full of about 8 pints. And the best bit was it was doing weapons demonstrations. So I was on stage. Health and safety, guys, please. You can't do this. This is 10 years ago. I'm on stage with a big claymore, swinging it about while talking about it. Possibly 2 sheets to the wind. So,
and you're here to talk about it.
It's got to be done. There was no heads removed, thankfully. God. Yeah, that was vicious. Now, Ryan, we better actually get on with some questions here.
Sure, yeah.
This is how I like the shows to go. I like them to be relaxed and just chatty, and whatever way they go. I was mentioning a fellow Fringe Circuit chap we what know as Jeff Newman. And Jeff literally has, I don't think we actually held a conversation. We just meandered and crossed paths, and it was just crazy and fun. So let's get the first question done. And the first question is very simple. I've based all my questions on a storytelling principle called The Hero Journey by Joseph Campbell. If you're not familiar with it, Star Wars is your best reference point. It's what Lucas used. But it also creates a really nice story arc for questioning. And of course, that's what I do for a living. You do storytelling, so it just makes sense to me. Stick to what you know.
Absolutely.
So the first part of the hero's journey is beautiful. It's simple, and it's all the craze. Every movie at the moment has the origin story. It's the biggest thing. And I know you're a big comic book guy and a sci-fi guy, and you love all your, like, I have stalked you. I have been, yep, okay, I see what he's doing. So, to start off with, Ryan, what I'd really like is your origin story. How did you get to where you are? What was the beginning performer, Ryan, to now what we have is this wonderful product before us?
All right. Well, I was born in California. My mother was a businesswoman. My father was trying to find what he wanted to do. He was a park ranger at the time. Currently, he's a potter. He makes pottery. He's incredible.
Fantastic.
Yeah. But yeah, I was born. They were hippies. They followed the Grateful Dead on tour while my mom was pregnant with me. And they were just like really loving, wonderful, wonderful people. And as a result, any spark they ever saw in me or in any of the other children, they completely nurtured and jumped on and tried to find ways to grow it immediately. And they noticed, they got a video camera when I was a baby, and they noticed from like age 1, as soon as they put the camera on me, I would light up. I would completely light up. And I would start making up songs. I started making up songs from like age 2. Then as I got older and older, like we moved to Indiana and lived on a farm. I grew up on a farm in Indiana. That was home. So by the time I was 5, we're living on this farmhouse in Indiana. I loved the farm life. I loved having all the animals. I loved having lots of places to run and climb, and a pond to swim in, and a creek to explore, and all that kind of stuff. It was a perfect childhood. But that camera, that video camera, every single night, if we were all home, that was the thing. I'd be like, get the camera out, get the camera out, get the camera out, please, please. And they would film for as long as they could stand to film. And I would tell stories and jokes and make up songs. My brother would join in, and later my sister. We would all just kind of, we put on puppet shows. We script shows with the action figures. And it's the only thing I ever wanted to do. Is from day one, I was like, I want to sing. I want to sing, and I want to be on screen. That's it. Those two things. That's it. And it never changed. That goal never changed from baby Ryan until today Ryan. It's always been, I have to sing, find a way to sing, let me sing. And everything else around singing came as the older I got, the more I started to realize that I wasn't very good at singing. Especially once puberty hit, once that kind of rocked my world, I wasn't very good at it, and people made that known to me. And we lived in the country, and we were well off enough that we went to Catholic school, which was very important to my mom, but we were not well off to like support having like private lessons or voice lessons or any of that kind of stuff. So it was all just self-taught and fun, singing at home. And I did a couple talent shows and things and didn't really go anywhere, didn't win anything. Did a couple auditions for TV shows and stuff when they came through town, and nothing ever happened. And I remember crying a lot. But my mom was so supportive. She really wanted me to do this thing. And she never ever stopped being that supportive. And even though I wasn't really having any success or really not any good at any of it, she still kept pushing and kept being my rock. And when I was 13, we lost my mom and my sister and 2 of my cousins in a car wreck, about 5 miles from our house.
Okay.
And when you say origin story, I mean, that's probably as origin story as it can get for me at that moment, because it changed everything about my life completely.
Yeah.
She was my mom was beloved in the community. She was a huge part of the church. She was a huge part of the local, like, everything, just there was a line outside the church at her funeral for people that wanted to be there. It was a really devastating moment. Clearly, how could it not be? But then the following years were that's where that's where I really kind of defined myself, because trying to figure out what to do, how to keep going. My brother, my dad, and I, just three of us now on this giant farmhouse, and no income. There's a whole another story there with, like, the state, like the road that they were killed on. There had been complaints from people for decades to get that road fixed, and it was a really dangerous spot. And the state fought us tooth and nail when we tried to, like, get some help from them. Her company fought us tooth. My mom's company fought us tooth and nail. Didn't give us any life insurance. It was all kinds of lots of crazy stuff, and it was a really dark time.
Yeah.
But I still amongst all of it, it didn't change that I just wanted to sing, and I wanted to find ways to sing. And I think because she was so supportive, and because she was so nurturing, and she really did believe in me and push me, I think I'm so thankful for that, because of that I never quit. I never for a second quit. I was like, she wanted this for me as bad as I wanted it, and it was almost like she gave me more power that way, like from beyond the grave almost. She, like, helped me kind of just keep pushing and keep going and just not stop. And I didn't stop, and I fell in love with punk rock. Kind of became a tough kid, a bad kid, because that's the route people take sometimes when you have tragedy. Yeah. And I started singing in punk rock bands, and I kept auditioning for things. And then we lived pretty far away, from the school. It was like a 45-minute drive to get home. And I would always be stuck at school until like 10 or 11 p.m. just because I'd be in rehearsals or something, and then I'd have to wait for Dad to be able to come get me.
Okay.
And,
cool.
I think one day there was some kind of fight I got into with my dad, because he was trying to get me to drop out of a play because it was so hard to go back and forth. And my dad wrote some letter to the theater director of our school. I never read the letter. I don't know what it said, but he had me hand it to him. And after that letter, everything started changing at school for me for, like, theater. I started to get, like, the just spent a little more time with me. Like, after class, they would find me, like, when I was waiting to go home, and give me extra lessons and show me things and teach me extra things. I started to get better at what I was doing, and I started to just become better. And then by the end of it, I was getting lead roles and killing it and heading off to college, and I majored in theater there, and I killed it out there and had a great time and never stopped, just did not stop. And I didn't stop writing music, didn't stop writing songs. At this point in my life, I think I've written probably about 400 songs.
It's impressive.
They're not all good.
Well,
I'd say the majority of them will never see the light of day. But I've written.
That's a whole Fringe show. The bad song collection.
Oh God, I just don't think I could do it. But yeah, I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and my mom and my sister are always right there on my mind. They're always the forefront of my brain and what I'm doing, and I do it as much for them as I do for myself, because they were my supports. And my dad, that's not to belittle my father, because he's amazing, and he eventually did come around hard on me, and like come around hard in support. It took some time, and it took him seeing some shows, but like and he's been an amazing support in my life as well. So like family is what powers me. And then through the Fringe circuit, that's where I feel like I've really found my niche, my home, and my adult family, like my post-life family or whatever, the framily, as we all call it. And Fringe is just like the place where I feel most myself and most accepted and most home, and like my shows matter, and that people care about what I'm saying and doing and performing, and it's been amazing. But it's all rooted in having a really awesome set of parents
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Ryan.
Of course.
That's a really beautiful and powerful story, and I do appreciate that. A couple of people have actually made comments here. Danny Barr, I don't want to Deckelbaum.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your the hyphenated name, Deckelbaum Barr. They cannot imagine you as a bad kid.
I probably wasn't, to be honest. It was probably just like in my mind, like, yeah, I'm a punk now. I was probably still like holding the door and being like, hi guys, like I'm sorry. Like,
I thought I was a really kick-ass rock guy for years. And then I look back at the pictures and I was just like a cheap Axl Rose knockoff. When I had hair. I once had hair longer than yours.
I'm joining you. I'm joining you one of these days. It's happening. I see it in my future. I look at the grandparents and I know. So,
yeah. Well, that's where it happened for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple of questions have come through that I always like to, because it's the audience asking questions. They're obviously enjoying listening to you. So there's a few questions. So one is relating to your story, and I think you've kind of answered it a wee bit, but with the loss of your family members, did it change the style of what you wanted to sing? Did that affect anything on that level, or did you keep that drive and positivity going?
It did kind of, yeah. I mean, I think that I went back and forth a lot over the years. I always wanted to be rock star, like rock star was the thing, you know? But I think when I was a kid, I was like, I wouldn't mind being a Christian rock star, or I wouldn't mind being a rock star for kids, like doing kids music, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I certainly abandoned both of those thoughts pretty quickly after losing my family. But then also once I found punk rock, that shifted everything. That changed my entire journey. And I still can kind of consider myself a punk artist, even though I'm playing acoustic folk songs that are slow and sometimes pretty.
It doesn't matter what you play, it's who you are inside.
Yeah. I call myself a cowpunk artist.
I like that.
Yeah.
So just to let you know, Ryan, sorry if I'm giving you heavy eye contact when I'm sucking on my water bottle. I keep making this joke, but I just find it really rude to turn away from my guests. So it's kind of just like, so I'm just going to do it now. I'm just going to.
Just commit. Oh my. Oh.
It's just, I'm sorry. This studio is airtight, so it gets so warm in here so quickly.
I got a ring light counting down on me. I get it. I get hot too.
Yeah. And you're a lot hairier than me. So, I mean, that's like, I'm at least ventilated. So do any of your siblings have a passion for the art, or were you the only one with that fire? This is another question.
Yeah, so my sister really wanted to be a dancer. That was another one of the things that kept pushing me, because she always used to say that when we grew up, she was going to be the dancer to whatever my band was. And, so after losing her, that's one of those other things that keeps pushing me. And it might be one of the things that keeps bringing me back to the world of dance and like burlesque. And like, I've taken every dance class you can imagine, because I still, in my heart, I'm like, maybe I'll be good at one of them. I've taken tap and ballet and jazz and modern. I was actually good at Irish. I was good at Irish dance. I did 2 years of Irish dance, actually.
Wow, well done. That's a tough thing to do, actually.
Well, because my concern with dance is I don't know what to do with my arms. And Irish dance just says, you know what you do with them? You just put them down. Just put them down to your sides and you go. And I was like, oh, amazing. This is perfect.
Well, I can't dance either. The reason I wear a kilt is because you can just do that sway dance when you're in a kilt and it looks natural. I'm a terrible dancer. And so, yeah, don't worry. Irish dancing, that's amazing, though. That's a difficult thing to do.
I love it. I'd love to get back into it someday. I've got so much stuff going on. I don't know when. But yeah, and then to answer the question, my brother, he's very artistic still. He's a bass player. He played bass in punk bands for a long time too. These days, I believe he is working with wild birds. I think he's taking care of wild birds. He lives in Birmingham, Alabama. I don't get to talk to him too terribly much. I just kind of make a guess based on whatever picture he posts every 6 months or so.
Okay, so from bass to birds.
Yeah. And then he's also a baker. He does like French pastries and stuff.
Oh,
so a little bit of everything.
Bit of everything. I love it.
Seems to be the
very
Wells
diverse family you have.
Go around and do whatever is put in front of us.
Yeah, I like it.
It's fun to be a jack of all trades. It's
it's fun I've got a friend in Edinburgh, one of the performers, and he is the most eclectic jack of all trades. He's a professional balloon artist, but he also does magic. He does bubbles. He does marionette puppets. He paints. He does. And he's like that. His attitude is, you keep a finger in all the pies.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
100%.
then you have so many opportunities when you need to make money. You can be like, this is the list of things that I do. Which one of these can you pay for right now, or how many of them?
And then the coronavirus hits, and you realize none of them. Basically, the one thing that none of us learned was stitching. The one thing that's needed, sewing.
Or IT.
Or IT, yeah. Ridiculous. Okay, another question popped through. Is theatre the only part you've done schooling for? Is the rest more apprenticeship style learning?
Theater and improv are the only two things I actually studied. Like studied under a teacher, under a like in a school setting. Just theater and improv. Voice and guitar, I'm all self-taught and trade taught, taught just by being around people and learning tricks. Yeah. I did take one semester of beginner's guitar, which I don't feel like added anything. And I did take one semester of voice from an opera teacher at university, which helped me a lot, which changed everything about the way I performed that one semester. It was very interesting that I took both of those two very just simple one-time classes. Yep. And they were completely different in how effective they were in my training. So a semester each of those, and then a lifetime of training for theater and a lifetime of training for long-time training for improv, to the point that now I teach improv and I offer improv workshops when I'm on tour as a side thing too.
Excellent. I did not know that. That's cool.
Yeah, we do. Usually, Sound and Fury, we'll usually do it together when we're on tour. We'll offer a class as a three-piece. We'll go to high schools. We'll go to sometimes in smaller towns. We'll just go to the town center and anybody can come. It's fun. It's good.
Cool. It's interesting. Interesting you mentioned opera, because we had Frank D'Ambrosio on earlier, and he teaches opera as well as having an esteemed career as the longest running Phantom of the Opera.
Wow.
So yeah, opera apparently is probably one of the most, it seems to be the top teaching singing tool out there, of them all. So that I'm kind of impressed that you did that as well.
It's funny, the very first day of class I walked in and my teacher, who was a grad student in opera, who had been doing opera his entire life, walked in and he's like, "All right, so tell me about yourself. What do you do? What do you sing?" I go, "Well, I'm in 2 punk rock bands." And he went, "It's gonna be a long semester."
I love it.
He was a very sarcastic and salty man, but it was fun. I learned a lot from him.
So you mentioned, on the back of that question, you mentioned your theatre and your improv teaching. The next question I always like to ask leads perfectly into that, because as a performer, some performers are very big into having mentors. Some believe doing it on their own. Is there anybody through your journey that has influenced you, that's been that mentor, that's been that person that's kind of guided you, helped you, that if you stumble, they're there to catch you? Or are you one of those kind of more lone wolves? I'm doing it myself, but I've got people I can talk to.
I don't think there's a one person. I don't think there's a one person that I can look to as my craft mentor.
Yeah.
Or what have you, There have certainly been many, 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 many people throughout the years who have become cornerstones for me, or people that I can go to for certain things, or little, if I'm struggling with something. like I'll run to that person, you know. And then certainly in high school, Dale Durham, who was the guy who ran our theater program in high school, you know, that was an impressionable time, and I'm learning a lot. And I was in his office every day asking him questions and learning things, and it was really he was a wonderful source and a wonderful man. But then, you know, once I left high school, I'm one of those people too, like when I leave a place, I kind of close the book on it a little bit and kind of keep moving. So it really is just the case of like, I guess the answer is more of the latter for me. I'm more of the like, kind of lone wolf type. But I don't want to say that and discount the wonderful people that I have had help me along the way. But there certainly hasn't been like one kind of like person on my shoulder the whole time. You know, what's funny is I actually look a lot to things like autobiographies and documentaries, and I try to learn from the people who I like really admire or like really aspire to be like. Jim Henson, for example. Jim Henson is my everything. You know, that's Jim Henson's the reason I'm a performer. Aside from my father and mother, who are the reasons I'm performers for real. Jim Henson is like, you know, my guiding star. Everything about that man was just incredible, and I watch and read every little thing I can get about him, and always have, and I try to apply a lot of his like policies and thoughts and life mottos and those kinds of things to my own life.
That's interesting because it was actually his Storyteller series with John Hurt that got me into what I do. I just fell in love with that series when I was a boy, and Jim Henson is oddly one of those key figures that people forget about, but he's so influential.
He's just everything, you know. And then I guess a more modern person that I look to a lot is Henry Rollins. I'm a huge Henry Rollins fan. I love his books. I love his storytelling pieces, his poetry, everything. So, and I love the way he lives his life and kind of his philosophies and things. I think he would hate me. I think Henson would love me and Rollins would hate me, but I really admire both of them and kind of like try to take out lessons from both of them and apply them to how I live and act as a performer, you know, and on the road and at home.
Yeah. Who is it?
Wife's walking by. The wife's walking by. She's heading outside to the patio.
That's okay. Anything goes. I actually shut my studio door now, or I'd have cats and my studio dog in here, and anything goes in this show. So
I got a dog and 4 cats running around me right now too.
Fantastic!
Just being quiet miraculously.
Yeah. So I'm actually curious. Henry Rollins. Oh, Bonnie.
Prince Diamond.
Who's this? Sorry.
Prince Diamond.
Oh, she is beautiful. A lady, I take it?
Boy.
A boy. Oh, did you say Prince?
Prince, yes.
Prince. Very beautiful. Don't cut us off, though, Kat. Hits the wrong button. Yeah, we've got the 2 and we've got the dog. I've got a big German Shepherd Collie cross running about the place. It's nice having life in the house. So,
agreed.
The Henry Rollins thing, actually, I need to inquire about that because I find that interesting. Why do you think Rollins would hate you?
I think he would, because based on the kind of like the performers and the people that he seems to really admire and like, I don't think I fit into any of those categories. I think my music might be a little too soft. Some of my sensibilities also might be a little too soft. It's probably unfair of me to put that on. And perhaps he would think I was just fine, you know. But
remember, you're forgetting there's the image that we see. And as performers, there are certain images that we put into the world. And then we go home and put our Aaron knit cardigans and our slippers on. You know, so maybe like Rollins is like when he goes home, he puts on his cardigan and he puts on like a little kind of bed cap and fuzzy slippers and has a hot chocolate.
That's a good point. Yeah, I guess you don't know how much of the image is performative for anybody. You know, and everybody's got to have their softer side for sure. He does like Cat Stevens a lot, so I mean.
Well, that's
But
it. There's
folks are
very few people that apparently are for performers. We have our kind of masks, as we say. You know, you've got to have your kind of public face. The only one that I've discovered recently, and because I'm from Scotland, I'm not familiar, but is Mr. Rogers apparently was just Mr. Rogers all the time.
Yeah.
Well, most of us have our kind of, yes, it's us, but we have our slightly more showy face to our background face. So don't worry, I reckon Rollins, he'll catch this at some point and come and kill me for saying that he wears Aran knit and fluffy slippers. But, you know, he's possibly a big teddy bear in the background.
There is a real possibility. It's true. Yeah.
So I think he'd love you. You'll be...
Somebody else who is definitely always the person that you see on stage, who I'm also a huge fan of, and I was lucky enough to hang out with for a full 6 hours a few years ago, is Emo Philips. I don't know if you're familiar with the comedian Emo Philips. He's the guy.
The name is so familiar. I'm trying to picture.
Hair parted down the middle, kind of comes to like this, and big round glasses, and everything he says sounds like this.
Yes,
that's the joke. Yeah, Emo. He's incredible. I'm a huge fan of his, and I met him at a comedy club in Hollywood several years ago. And I just walked up. I was like, "I'm a big fan." He was like, "Oh, that's great!" And we hung out for like six hours and wandered the city and saw some shows together and stuff. He was amazing. But he's exactly like he is on stage. It was very funny.
I love that.
Very interesting to see. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. There's, I've ran into a few people over the past, and you expect something, and you're just like, "Holy shit, you're human." You know, I love it. I love it when you get those moments and you get thrown off. So,
oh yeah.
My next question, I'm thinking I might have to jump because you've kind of answered it, because it's kind of all about those kind of trials and tribulations, those darker moments, but I kind of feel that was possibly answered in your origin story, unless, let's rephrase it. Has there ever been a time in your performance career that you've nearly just said, to hell with it, this isn't working, this is it, I can't do this anymore, and nearly walked away? Have you ever hit that kind of zone where you've just nearly given up?
The only time in my life that I ever, even for a moment, considered that is when I was in the throes of my abusive relationship, which those out there that have seen my storytelling show, Beers About Songs, that's all about an abusive relationship I was trapped in for 2 years at the end of my college tenure. And that relationship took everything from me and turned me into a shadow, broken shell of a man. And during that, I was pretty much near the end of it. I was ready. I was everything, and I was ready to just be a house husband and ready to raise a couple kids and just hate my life. And I don't know that I would still be alive at this current point right now if I had done that, because I suffer from clinical depression, PTSD, intense anxiety, a couple other various small things I've been diagnosed with over the years, ADHD. And I have survived 3 suicide attempts, all when I was much younger, but much younger. That's a demon I'll always struggle with, but it's not a demon that I actively worry about anymore. But yeah, near the end of that abusive relationship, I was giving up on everything, not just the performing career, but all of it. I was just giving up, But I'm out. I'm here, and I have an award-winning show about it now. So. That I've traveled all around the world with. And
if I remember correctly, that's how we met, because I had come to see your show and it resonated so strongly with something I had just gone through that I had to come and say, "Hey, thanks very much for that." So, and I can't remember. I think I bought you a beer. I can't remember.
That tracks. That sounds right in my brain.
It was in Edmonton. I remember that. It was in the tequila bar
place,
the Mexican place, with a weird layout and strange design. But I'd actually forgotten about that. The kind of undertones of that show, and that was a very good show. And if you get to see that, folks, Beers with Songs, when Ryan, sorry,
Beers About Songs.
Beers About Songs. My apologies. When Ryan is back on the road, you need to go see it if he's performing it, because it really is a great show, and it's got a lot of good kind of themes and feels and it's all in there. It's all in there. Yeah, it's all good.
Ah,
I liked it. Sorry. Yeah. So that would be your lowest point, and that makes perfect sense in the performance world. So that's good. How are you feeling, by the way? You handling?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm
I
aware
got
that you're
water. I
poorly.
finished the tonic water earlier. I'm hydrating. The only way I can stand to hydrate is with bubbles. So.
Oh, wait a minute. Tyler Hilton is saying, and his newer show, The 500 List.
Yes, that's my new storytelling show, The 500 List.
Yeah.
Tell
us about that a little bit, please.
Yeah, the 500 List is all about a best friend of mine. We took in college. It actually is. I call it a side quel to Beers About Songs because it happens at the same time as that story, but it's a completely separate story. So Beers About Songs is about how easy it is to fall into an abusive relationship. And about how it can happen to anybody. Because look at me, I'm a massive 6'4", 250-pound man that fell into it with a 5 nothing tiny little woman who beat the crap out of me every night. So it can happen to anybody. But then the 500 list, the 500 list is the opposite. It's the story about how you can get out of bad situations and how friendship has the power to help you through anything, basically. And it's my best friend. He and I we took 2 years, and over the course of the 2 years we compiled our 500 favorite songs of all time individually. We each made our own 500 list, 500 songs. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the 2 years, we took a road trip and we listened to all 1,000 songs. And we drove from Bloomington, Indiana, to New York City, to Nashville, Tennessee, to Memphis, Tennessee, to Austin, Texas, back to Bloomington, all in a week, and we listened to songs. And we had all kinds of crazy adventures, all kinds of things happened. And he also, over the course of the trip, Dave helped me see the light and realize that I was in this abusive relationship. And when we got home, that was when I was able to get myself out of it. Nice. So that's what that show's about. And it's a much, much, much more uplifting show. It's a much more like Beers About Songs is pretty heavy. The 500 list has its heavy moments, but it's an uplifting show as a whole. It's about the power of friendship, is what I really push, that it's a show about friendship and love. And nice. I'm really proud of that one. I'm very happy with it. I've taken it to Winnipeg and New York and California, and it's done really, really well. It was supposed to be in both Winnipeg and Edmonton this year, but alas.
So I'd have seen it this year because I was in Edmonton. Yeah. Okay, comments come through. Also, ostriches.
Yes. The 500 list also touches upon my hatred of ostriches and why. I despise them. They're horrible creatures. They're vile terror birds, and I want nothing to do with them.
Terror bird. See, I am against snakes. I just find them a pointless, irrelevant creature that doesn't necessarily need to live. There's no purpose. People say, but they kill the vermin. I'm like, no, coyotes and other animals can do that. Snakes are unnecessary. And it sounds like you have a similar venom for ostriches.
Oh, yeah. Screw them. They're horrible.
Were you inappropriately touched by an ostrich?
Sort of.
I thought I was just being an asshole with that comment. Yeah.
I give away too much because it's part of the show.
It's part of the show. Okay, we can't. Dad, see, I hate this because I totally respect that, but I desperately want to know about ostriches now. But I respect it's part of your show, and we need to have our mystery. We need to have our secrets.
Exactly. Yeah.
We can't have it flaunted.
We're not like the movies, when we come through town with our shows, we got to make sure people are like, I've been wanting to see this, and they make sure they come.
Well, that's it. Just bill it as a show about the hatred for ostriches. People will come. If you bill it that way, people will come. Forget the music. People will come.
There's an ostrich on the poster.
I love it. I can't wait to see this.
Road that seems to go on forever, and there's song titles written on the road, and there's the moon in the background, and holding my guitar, and I'm just kind of looking, and there's an ostrich crossing the road behind me, and it's the number one thing I get out when I'm promoting the show. It's the number one question people have. And I'm like, just see the show. Just come see the show.
I like it. I love it. Oh, I can't wait to see this one. That does sound good. See, I need to up my game because quite often when I go to the fringes, I'm just like, yeah, I'm just going to do what I do. It's just easier. I can't even bother. I actually had about 4 different shows I'd created for this year. And then kind of, it fell apart. Anyway, so we've spoken about trials and tribulations, your journey. We've spoken about your mentor, kind of lone wolf, which actually is kind of how I feel. I've had a couple of great influences. My storytelling mentor was on my last show, but I've kind of had a few people and developed off different people. I've never stuck quite solidly with one person. But obviously, as a performer, you've got to constantly develop and grow. So is there any, like, what's your program for, for new storytellers new performers out there? Can you give them any, this isn't the last question one, but this is just kind of like, is there a routine, a regiment you have for developing, for continually learning? Or are you, like a lot of us performers, just kind of like, yeah, we'll just see how it goes?
It's kind of my mutant power. It's my superpower. I literally, when I have an idea for a show, it tumbles around my brain, might sit down, and I might write a brief outline to it, maybe, not always. And then I'll jot down like a 6-word idea in connection to it. If you look on my computer, on my notes app, I've got a tab for every show that I'm currently developing. Most of them are empty except most of them is the title. Some of them have a few notes. Some of them have a very, very brief jotted outline. And then it'll be that until the day my brain goes, ding, ready. And then it just comes out. And I write it usually. Most shows I think to date I've written, I think, if you count Sound and Fury shows, which are co-written with the other 2 guys, I've probably written, around 15, 16 shows. Mm-hmm. And they just kind of come out when they're ready. When they're done, they fall out. And it's Beers About Songs on the 500 list, for example. Both of those shows, they came out in a period of about 4 hours, and they were done. I've gone back and done a little bit of edits, based on what works in front of audiences and what doesn't work so much. Or maybe I'll find a better phrasing for something, or that's all just like in the workshopping phase of actually performing it. But usually it bakes up until it's ready, and then it comes out and it's done. And I wish I knew how to teach that. I wish I knew how to effectively share that, but I think it's just like the way my brain works. It's just how I write. I think the absolute best thing people can do is to see as much as possible, see as many shows as possible, see as much stuff as possible. And that's watch stuff on TV and Netflix, but you should also do that. Watch Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime, but like go to every live show you possibly can and see what everyone else is doing. And it's not to steal ideas, and it's also not to make sure you're not coming up with the exact same thing as somebody else. It's just it's amazing. Seeing theater will awaken your creativity. It'll just crack your brain open a little bit.
Definitely.
It's your brain has stuff hiding back here that it wants to do and it doesn't know how. And like for somebody do something in a show that is completely unlike anything I would ever do, any show I would ever do, anything at all, but it might crack open a pathway in my brain to how this one thing I haven't been able to make work, how it could maybe light it up a little bit, ignite it with just a fraction of something they did in that moment. But it could just be an eye twitch, or the way that their smile quirked, or like a way they said a word or something like that. And it won't even be the thing that won't even be what I'll use, but it will help me crack the pathway open to finding what I needed to get that expression, or whatever that missing moment was in what I was trying to build. And it's just so vital to see stuff. Not only just because there's so much amazing work out there too, like, because there is so much incredible, just life-changing work out there on the circuit. and in the world. It's just important to make sure you're you got to feed your imagination. It's a hungry beast, and it needs to be fed, and it needs more input all the time. And if you just close yourself off to entertainment, you're going to shut down, or you might. I think that's where the really bleak stuff comes from. I think the people that write the like really like bleak and dark apocalyptic like zombie shows and stuff, I think those people are the people that aren't seeing anything. They're just kind of turning off their imaginations. And if that's your kind of thing, that's your kind of thing, and go for it and do it and rock and roll. And I personally can't handle bleak entertainment. I can't. It's the world's bleak enough. I need some kind of escapism, or me, what's the point? The world's dark and scary. Let's lift our hearts a little bit,
Well, that's so true. Yeah. I actually love the fact you use a computer, because I've got notebooks sitting in the other room that are just filled with 1 or 2 lines of show ideas, names. Some of them are just titles with nothing else. And I actually went through them, and that's what this Fringe, I was struggling for this year, because I had 4 or 5. I was like, oh, that one could be good. And it's so difficult. But what you're saying about seeing shows, that took me so far too long to realize. I mean, that lesson there. When I started doing the Fringe circuits, it took me forever to register. And it's maybe because in Edinburgh, it's just so difficult. But when I came over here and people did say, you've got to go and see all these shows, it took me too long to register. Actually, that is so important. And as a performer, because it allows us to actually shut down. Well, I don't know, does it? Because I always find, like what you're saying, my head's always going. I'm watching a show and this is just firing. So I never shut down. Actually, there's a valid question. Do you ever actually shut down?
Yes.
You do?
I absolutely do. I have to. I feel like I'm a switch when it comes to introvert extrovert. That thing. I feel like I'm a dead middle switch. Mm-hmm. And when my switch flips to introvert, I shut so down. It drives the wife crazy. Actually, she can't stand it, because I'll be completely silent and I'll just be reading a book or playing a video game, or or just sitting there. And I have to live in silence for a couple hours and do nothing. When I come home from work, I have to detox and unwind by just like sitting down and just breathing and like having a beer, or watching something on Netflix and just not thinking. I've watched Parks and Rec through probably 9 times, the entire show, and it's my go-to. I'll just put it on and let it go, because it's a happy place. It's an easy place. I don't have to think. I don't have to. I can just exist and just shut down and like let it go around me. And it's vital. Shutting down is vital to me.
Yeah, otherwise, I think my wife would love it if I could shut down. She might actually get to read a book in peace.
Yeah.
But no, that is a valid point, shutting down. I find I'm my brain's constantly firing. It takes me a lot. I've recently started playing computer games because apparently, and my wife approves, apart from when I'm screaming at the game, because it's apparently the only time that I will shut down from performer mode. Like my brain's just always on work, mainly because this is in our basement of our house. So this is my office and studio. So it's like, it's 10 paces away from anywhere in the house. But no, I admire the fact that you can shut down. Now, an interesting question. I'm going to ask this because you broached some of the depression side of things. If you don't mind, I don't want to go heavy into that. But
I'm an open book always.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, but this is what this is about. I mean, I'm loving your honesty in this conversation as well, Ryan. And I've had it with many guests. It's thrown me a wee bit because I don't know if it's a Scottish thing, but we're very, it takes us a while to open up. We're like kind of, no, emotion bad. I only discovered emotions when I became a storyteller. It was really weird. It's that kind of growing up thing in Scotland. But one of the things I am awful with is what I call the performer glums. It's my polite way of saying it. And it's after you do a nice run of shows and then you finish. And basically, all of a sudden, it must just be the adrenaline, the buzz, the hype, the being surrounded with people kind of kicks in, and you just feel a wee bit kind of lost and not sure what's happening in the world. Is that something, and I'm presuming it may be, I don't want to say, but is that something you have problems with as well? And what's your kind of techniques for getting over that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a real thing for sure. It's definitely a thing. I feel like I have alleviated it in my own life by constantly making sure I've got something else on the plate. I feel like some of my friends in Houston, like I believe somewhat jokingly, call me the hardest working man in Houston. It's because I'm constantly, I don't take breaks. I've always got something. I've taken a break the past of the COVID, which has been destroying me, and I'm exhausted. But like I have a streaming show Tuesday through Saturday from 5 to 6 Central Time. I do that every day. I've constantly got a bunch of shows ready to go at bars. Obviously, none of this is happening right now because of the stuff. I've usually got about 3 upcoming festivals. I've usually got a couple tour dates scheduled. Usually my calendar is full.
Yeah,
and
wonderful.
When I notice it start to thin out, I start to panic a little bit and start to find ways to fill it back up because I don't want those glums. I don't. If I go too long without performing, I spiral out and down fast. I have to perform, have to do something, anything. And I feel like I've avoided those glums recently by just filling up the calendar and sure. And now the glums I get are leaving cities that I love and leaving people behind that I love. That's the hard part. I think that's the hardest part about being a touring performer is leaving people behind. Like Winnipeg, Manitoba is my second home. I love that city so much. I would move there. I would live there. I always tell, I don't, snow be damned. I don't care. I love that place, you know?
You say that until you have to shovel. Okay, I'm just letting you know. Shoveling is a revelation to me that it hurts. Okay,
I grew up shoveling snow.
I
remember it. That was one of my chores in the winter. But yeah, it does suck. It's terrible. But yeah, no, I mean, I every time I leave Winnipeg, it breaks my heart. Every time I leave Edmonton, it breaks my heart. Every time I leave Orlando, every time I leave Los Angeles, every time I leave New York, every time I leave Fresno, California, there's all these places that like Perth, Adelaide, even though I haven't been in a couple of years, every single time it just shatters me completely. And the only thing that keeps me going is knowing that I'm going somewhere else next, you know, and that's real hard right now.
Oh,
real hard being stuck. I love Houston and I love my family here and I love my friends here, but man, not traveling is killing me right now. It is killing me.
I'm just seeing another comment from Tyler as you're talking. Who is Tyler? Because he does know you very well.
He's been a very solid supporter and good friend for a long time.
Because he's saying relaxing stuff like comics, find stuff to produce ideas from that, songs, videos. So apparently your comics also influence you.
Very, very much. I've been collecting and reading Marvel comics as long as I'm able to read. I think my dad gave me an X-Men and a Spider-Man when I was like 5, and I was completely hooked on both of those worlds forever. I still, to this day, read every single new comic that Marvel Comics puts out every Wednesday. I never miss a Wednesday. I read I love my comic books. They're my biggest escape. Pretty cool. they're my biggest escape. Treasure them. The wife knows on Wednesdays. Let me read. I just sit. I sit and I just read and just read and read and read and read and I just absorb all of them. It's my happy place. It's the thing I love. It's probably my biggest dream is to work in comics, like work as a comic book writer. I would love that so much.
That would be cool. Yeah.
I would love to work. It's just, that's one of those industries that you can only break in by breaking in.
Is that something just of interest? Do you do a lot of writing on that level? You know, because obviously you do a lot of songwriting, but is that something else you do?
I do a lot of brainstorming. The problem with writing comics is you need an illustrator, and illustrators are in high demand and they cost a lot of money. A good rate for an illustrator is $75 a page for pencils, and that's not with ink, that's not with color. It's expensive.
Stick figures aren't going to cut it.
No, yeah. So I'd love to write comics, and I've got a lot of ideas for them, and it's something I'd really love to do. But you can only break into the industry by doing independent comics and getting those independent comics to the people that run the big guys, and then they can look at them and read them and stuff.
So comic books are very much like performing. You have to work your way through the ranks.
Yeah. So the whole thing holding me back there has been I just don't have an illustrator. I don't have the money to pay one. I'm friends with a very, very good comic illustrator, and he's wonderful, but I can't afford him. And a couple other cases of that too, But one day I'll make my living doing the music thing, and then I can write whenever,
But the thing is, surely you can find somebody who's up and coming as well, like you, and team up and do it as a, do it raw and see where you can take it, because that's how we all started. So
right.
I hold out hope that might happen. Tinder ad.
I do hold out hope
for Illustrator. Sorry, couldn't resist that. Okay. That's fantastic. I love that idea, because I like what I'm liking about just chatting to you, Ryan, because I said at the beginning, not all the guests I know very well. I've only met you a couple of times, but I like to have. Like, there's a lot of the Fringe people I'm hoping to get on my show that I've kind of got on the list and that have agreed to come on that I don't know that well, because I want to find out about you. And I want to kind of be surprised and very raw when you tell me things as well, or when you're talking to the audience. So I love the fact that you've got all this kind of, as you say, fingers in the pies, but you also have other ideas out there that, we all know how big comics are. And if you can find a way to break in, you'll still perform potentially, but you'll be able to go off on a completely different passionate route, which I love. I love the fact that that's another goal. I need to ask though, this could be a challenging question. Who's your favorite comic book hero character?
So it's that's kind of it's a two-pronged question in my mind. So like Spider-Man is like where I started. Spider-Man was my first comic. Peter Parker is who I see myself as in the comic book world. He makes a lot of the same choices I would make. He behaves the same way I would behave. He cracks jokes the same way I do. He's a very similar character to who I am. So he's like my point of view character. But my favorite comic book character is Cyclops from the X-Men. I am a huge Cyclops fan. I love him. I think he's fascinating. He's, especially when written well, I think he's just one of the most incredibly interesting, like complicated and layered characters around. Plus the superpower is really cool. Just lasers from your eyes. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and we should explain that for those who are not necessarily into comic books that may have seen the movies, the problem with the movies is, I know for a fact Cyclops was absolutely, it was awful. He was underrated. He was used as a side plot. Spider-Man has never quite been done right, because a lot of people don't know that Spider-Man technically is in the top levels of strength and ability in the universe, from what I remember reading.
Houdini, by the way. This is Houdini.
Who's this one?
Houdini.
Beautiful.
He's energy. Yeah, but no. The new Spider-Man, the Marvel Cinematic Universe Spider-Man, they finally kind of got it right. I'm loving it.
Yeah,
he's great. They got the brilliance, they got the quirkiness, they got the humor, they got everything. I'm a huge Tom Holland fan. I think he's killing it, and I think
definitely
they're finally doing it right. But Cyclops has never been represented well in any medium other than comics, and it's very a Cyclops fan. The cartoon,
Marvel might do it.
I'm holding out hope. I'm hoping so hard that when they bring them into the MCU, that they respect him.
What I'd like them to do is actually kind of sideline Wolverine a bit.
Agreed. Yeah, we've got
Wolverine has been
just any more Wolverine.
He's another character, but sideline him. Give some of the other amazing characters their chance.
You got Kitty. I mean, Kitty Pryde could front an entire franchise of films. And strong enough, interesting enough character. You could easily go with some of the younger, like newer characters, like Armor or X-23, or there's a lot of really interesting characters out there that just aren't Logan.
Yeah.
We've had so much Logan.
And also, to be honest, it's gonna be hard to replace Jackman because he did put his heart and soul in it. You know,
it's gonna be rough. Yeah, and it's gonna take a while before people will accept anybody that's not him, I think.
And that's why I think he needs to just be he needs to be the Cyclops of the movies.
Yeah.
He needs to be the side character, just occasional appearance.
I agree.
Come in, swear at them, disappear.
I could not agree more.
Yes, excellent. That's fantastic, Ryan. I love it. So I know that you're a bit poorly, so I don't want to keep you too long on this chat because we have had some marathon sessions of 2 hours, 20 minutes, I think is the longest, with Brendan Hunter. He's a fabulous guy. As I said, Jeff Newman was so pissed. Sorry, folks. I've got into the habit of swearing occasionally now because my guests do it.
For fans of mine, I'm not going to fucking care.
Because he was just under the 2 hour mark and he thought he'd done it, and then Brendan just tore it away from him. So what I'd like to do is move into a little bit of a fun section because time is ticking on. I think we're on about an hour and 15 minutes, and I did promise I'd try and keep you in within the hour and a half this time. So the next section is very quick, fun, just simple questions. Make of them what you will. Have fun with them, but these are questions I asked the audience to send in. So they're basically 10 silly questions all my guests get asked. It may or may not be a psychological quiz. Don't worry. Oh, and I should add, we have a lady on, Chelsea, who's a friend, and she's actually writing and illustrating her own book at the same time. So she's actually saying she feels for you. She gets it.
That's amazing. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, hers is about her cat called. Wait a minute, I'm gonna get this. It's it's gone. She's gonna never forgive me. I'm just checking if she's written it. Oh, it's like haggis or pudding or. It's a food name, I'm sure. I can't believe I've forgotten her cat's name. Anyway, she'll probably put a comment on soon. So let's get on to these 10 questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you psyched?
So psyched.
Right, okay. Whew. Right. Why did the chicken cross the road?
Have you had... So I grew up with chickens. I had chickens. Chickens are idiots. Chickens are dumb animals. I had chickens forever growing up, and that chicken probably crossed the road. It just did it. It just crossed the road because it's the thing that's in front of it, and it's going. And it probably saw something that maybe looked like seed on the other side, maybe, or probably in the middle. It probably stayed in the middle until somebody came and shooed it away. Because I cannot stress how dumb chickens are. They are idiots. They're dumb animals.
So out of all the people that have answered this question, nobody has actually gone into the psyche of a chicken. I appreciate this. Thank you, Ryan. And the cat's name is Meatloaf. I was close.
Haggis and pudding are great names haggis. For cats,
okay. How do you feel about garden gnomes?
Ambivalent. Could not care less, or they're fine.
That's okay.
I would prefer people decorate their gardens with stone animals. I like animals. I'm all about the animals.
So basically, you're kind of setting up a tribal situation, the garden gnomes against the stone animals.
Yeah.
See who comes out on top.
Hell yeah.
Okay, we're going for that. The worst job you've ever done?
When I was 18, 19, like that split year. It was the summer of my between freshman and sophomore year of college. I was home for the summer, living in the farmhouse alone because my dad had moved in with my stepmom about an hour and a half away and was trying to sell the house. So I lived in our little farmhouse by myself and worked at a dollar store that was about 25 minutes away, called Deals, nothing over $1. I worked as the freezer stocker because, yes, there was a freezer section at this store called Deals, nothing over $1. We had an entire... We sold canned goods, sold frozen food. We sold housewares. We sold crafts work. We sold anything you can imagine that you could imagine paying $1 for. We sold it. This job was hell. I hated it so much. If you walk into a Deals, the first thing you see on the wall, it says Deals, nothing over $1. And on the shopping carts, it says Deals, nothing's over $1. Everywhere on all the aisles, it says nothing over $1. And there are giant signs hanging in the aisles, like what you see in grocery stores, that tells you what's in the aisle. But at Deals, they didn't do that. It just says, welcome to Deals. Want to know what something costs? Number 1, it's $1. Number 2, if there's not a price tag on it, it's $1. Number 3, if it costs less than $1, we'll tell you how many you can get for $1. This is everywhere, all throughout the store. What do you think the number 1 question I was asked every single day on the job was? Take a guess.
Do you have any pepperoni pizza?
We do have pepperoni pizza, and it's $1. Every single goddamn day, people will be like, how much is this? What's this cost? Like holding up a broom. A broom for $1? Yes, $1. Wow, that's crazy. All right, it's $1. It's all $1. It's not hard to understand. It drove me out of my mind completely. I got promoted within a week because every other employee was either on meth visibly or sleeping in the break room, like when it was not their time to break. I was the only person just doing my job. I got promoted to freezer manager. So I was unloading trucks every day and putting stuff in the freezer and organizing the freezer. I got very sick that summer because of the constant hot to cold.
Oh yeah.
My favorite thing that happened on that job was one day we were putting canned goods away in the aisle, me and my manager Sabrina, and this man comes up to us in like flannels. He's just a massive man, flannels, overalls, trucker hat, beard out to here, little tiny glasses. And he stops us as we're putting cans away and he goes, excuse me, y'all got turtle soup? And my manager stops. She just stops with her can and goes, what? And he goes, turtle soup. Y'all sell Campbell's turtle soup? And she goes, sir, I've been working in food retail for 35 years. And I have never come across a can of Campbell's turtle soup. He goes, could you order me some? And she was like, no, sir, I can't, because I can't. If it even exists, I would have to order a whole case of it. And like I said, no one has ever asked me about it before, nor have I ever seen it. So I don't believe I could sell a whole case. So we will not be carrying Campbell's turtle soup. And the man was just like, oh, kind of just stormed off away. It was shocking to me. It's completely Campbell's turtle soup. I've never seen it either. There was a lot of weird shit in the old days, so who knows? But
you've hurt me twice. Like you've actually slightly broken my brain twice in this question. One, I'm trying to figure out, other than pizza now, what the hell you can buy for $1 in a freezer section. I'm thinking like human hands and.
We had $1 frozen bacon wrapped filet mignons, which I'm assuming was like grade F meat, probably.
That's what I'm worried about. I mean, it's like, where did they scrape this from?
It was gnarly.
Secondly, turtle soup? What the heck is that? Is that actually a thing?
It is a thing. I mean, I've had soup. I've had homemade turtle soup. Because growing up on the farm, like we had a big pond, right? And a pond ecosystem is very delicate. It can be completely shattered or changed by like one introduction into it that shouldn't be there. And we had a snapping turtle come in, and snapping turtles can destroy the entire ecosystem of pond very quickly because they'll eat all the fish. They don't have any natural predators. So my dad put out a snapping turtle trap, which is just you take an old milk jug and you put meat into the milk jug, and you float the milk jug out into the lake. And the snapping turtle puts its head in to try to get the meat, and it can't get its head out, and it's stuck in the in the milk jug, and then you shoot the turtle. And so my dad did that and waded in, and that snapping turtle, there's a picture of him holding it by the tail right here, and its beak like touches his feet basically.
Wow.
Massive thing. But my dad, he butchered it up, and we had turtle soup from that snapping turtle for about a week. So I did grow up having turtle soup, at least that one time. And then I remember liking turtle. We ate it. Yeah, we ate the.
Apparently, Danny's saying Campbell's did make a mock turtle soup.
Mock turtle soup. That's probably what he was thinking of then, huh? Yeah.
I couldn't think. I mean, the idea of turtle soup sounds awful, but mock turtle soup. I'm learning new things. And Campbell's. I mean, that's. Oh my God. I grew up with Campbell's chicken and tomato soup. I mean, come on.
Mock turtle soup.
Oh my! I'm just checking the call. Danny has put a link. I don't know if that is for the place to pick up your mock turtle soup. I'm terrified to click it. I'm not going to click it during the show. I'll check it after. Danny, please let me know that this is a legitimate link and not maybe Ryan with his shirt off just to scare us all. Okay, where were we? Okay, worst job. We've done that. Okay. You broke me. You actually have broke me. In one question, I'm like, okay, we can do this. We can do this. Oh, now, you kind of answered this, but let's just see. What superpower would you want, and would you use it for good or evil? Well, anybody who's known me for even a half a second knows that second answer is good. I don't even like to. I did not inherit any of my family's hunting traits or any of that kind of stuff. I feel bad if I accidentally pull up grass or step on a bug. So definitely or eat a turtle.
Yeah, I was a kid. I might still eat the turtle soup, but as far as what power I would have, when I was younger, the answer to that question was always sonic screams, because I thought those were so cool. Just like, you can scream and watch a wall crumble because of it, or blow people back with your scream. I thought that was such a badass rock and roll power. And that's what I was really wanted when I was a kid. Now there's 1000% a healing factor. Just give me the Wolverine healing ability. That's all. In my 30s, that's still, and I'm sure it's only going to get worse. So healing factor. Okay. Can I just 100%. Hurt you here? Yeah, I'm 43. In the last year, I have torn my Achilles tendon and got really bad whiplash, and it all happened within about 9 months of each other. Oh my God. As much as I hate to say it doesn't get worse, sadly, there are some aches and pains you have no idea why you have them. Healing factor would be divine. Yeah. Yeah, I never really got the appeal of Wolverine until I started just hurting by waking up. It's the moment that you get out of a chair and you go, "Hoo!" and you're like, did I just do that? Did I just make a movement noise? Yeah. But there's a pleasure in it. It's okay. It's okay. We're all falling apart. You earned that noise. So healing factor, I like that. That is one probably a lot of us are starting to think about. Okay, if you were stuck in an elevator with one person, anyone in the world, old, new, past, whatever, who would it be? Jim Henson. Jim Henson? Good answer. I have so many questions. And I'm not even going to follow up with some of the Fight Club ones that I did. I was like, so would you fight him? No. No, because it's Jim Henson. You know he'd kick your ass. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Hold on. The cat's eating paper. Okay, no worries. All right, we're good. We're good. There's the culprit. There's nothing worse when you've got animals and you kind of you get out of bed in the morning and you see something on the floor and you're like, what is that? We actually found one of those, the plastic toothpick things, it looks like a wee battle axe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We found one of them in the floor, and me and my wife were both like, where did this come from?
How did they get this? And to this day, we have no idea where it came from because we didn't even think we had any in the house.
I had to stop buying those because Houdini turns them into toys very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cats will turn anything into a toy. Okay. Jim Henson, we've got that. Okay. This one's serious. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Which is the right way to hang the toilet paper?
This was a hot topic of debate in our household.
Mm-hmm.
We compromised by me just doing what she wanted, which is it is hung in our household with the over.
Mm-hmm.
It's over, right? So you just pull on it and take it, pull and tear. It's the over.
Yes.
That's how we have it hung. I do not believe that is the correct way if you own cats.
This is true.
I believe that the correct way should be under so that the cats can't turn it into a batting toy and take the entire paper off the roll, which is especially bad during the times of COVID when that happens.
No, I agree. I've been fortunate. Our animals have never done that. But I am also going to say, as you're completely wrong, your wife is right.
Yeah.
And that's just because my wife is also right.
Yep.
Play it
It's
safe.
one of those battles that it's like, I can pick to lose this battle. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not that
Oh, yeah.
important. It's really not
It's
that
funny because I keep saying this because we actually had builders. We had to get new air conditioning in. And I've said this to every guest when we answer this question. I deliberately hung it the other way just out of pure evil. And I swear when the worker chap left the house, he crossed himself. Yeah. So just that's how serious this question is.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. But we err on the side of caution to keep happy families. Okay. Let me see. What's your favorite kitchen utensil and why?
I love a spatula. I love a good spatula.
Why?
Because it's just there's something real satisfying about flipping stuff. And I love cooking. I cook all the time. I'm a big fan of it, and I love breakfast food. And I'm a big pancake fan. I make fucking badass pancakes. I make pancakes that'll rock your world. And
okay, we're getting billeted in the same place the next festival.
Yeah.
I'm a big French toast guy. I could eat French toast all day.
Oh, nice. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I like a good strong spatula that's not gonna crack my pan or my omelet, you know. There's a real it's something that's real pleasing and satisfying when a spatula is strong and good and works well.
I like it. A spatula guy. I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay. This one's really serious now. This is a make or break question for a lot of my guests. Pineapple on a pizza, yes or no?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yes.
Yes. 100%.
Now, can I add a little suggestion? Black olives.
Yep, I do. Yes. Pineapples, black olives, occasionally mushrooms and pepperoni.
Yep. I like chicken, pineapple, black olives.
I'm also an anchovy guy. I like anchovy pizza.
Not quite a fan, but you know, each to their own. Each to their own. But the fact is, you've passed the test.
Yes.
You're amongst the legendary guests that like pineapple.
The people that don't like pineapple on their pizza, I imagine, just don't like fun. It's just, I feel like they probably like listen to Nickelback and like their favorite sitcom is probably Friends, you know, like I'll still with those people, but I'm gonna kind of squint my eyes a little bit. Yeah. Pineapple's great on pizza. It's amazing.
Oh, it is. But what's really funny is the next question. What is your musical guilty pleasure?
Okay, first off, I don't believe in guilty pleasures. I feel like if you like it, you like it, and that's fine. Who gives a shit? There's enough stuff out there. And like, yeah, I know I just shat on Nickelback back there, but like, whatever. If you like Nickelback, like, I don't really care. they worked hard to be
Well,
where
oddly
they are.
enough,
It's
this
fine.
question came on the back of that. I was doing a live stream and we were talking about the end of the world, and one of the comments came back through, well, the next phase is Nickelback. You know, the next phase of the end of the world. And I was kind of like, oh, because it dawned on me that a couple of days ago I'd been working in my office, just put a YouTube on, and of course, you know, it just randomly plays. Well, it started to play Nickelback, and I didn't realize, and I actually was enjoying it. And I had to admit that. I had to admit that basically I was listening to Nickelback. I've maybe started Armageddon, you know?
That's the whole thing. It's like there's a real power in letting go of giving a shit about people judging you for liking something. It's really like one of my favorite records of all time is Taylor Swift's 1989. It's an incredible pop record. I think it's one of the best pop records to ever be made. I think it's fantastic. I think it's near flawless. I'm a huge fan of the band Collective Soul. That's a group that a lot of people kind of consider a corny 90s thing. You know, I love their entire catalog, even their new stuff. I've got a couple Kelly Clarkson records. Like there's I don't care if it makes my ears feel good. If it makes my ears feel good, I'm gonna rock it, and that's fine.
You know, I came out as a big Barry Manilow fan. I love Barry Manilow.
Oh, Mandy. Yeah. He wrote some bangers. I was just my band, the Quarantiners, that I am in with my wife and our partner Chris. We did a parody of "Islands in the Stream" by Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. Yeah, we call it "Stuck in Quarantine," and that's available on our Bandcamp, ladies and gentlemen. Bandcamp.com.
In the link to the show, that is there. So if anyone's interested in seeing some of their music, in the link to the show, you will actually find their Bandcamp page.
But
I'm good.
That's perfect. But in prep for that, when we were like learning the song, we listened to every version of "Islands in the Stream" that we could find, like anybody that ever covered it. And Barry Manilow covered it with Reba McEntire. Barry and Reba did it together, and it was their version's pretty good. We play it, we're like, oh shit, okay, this is nice. It's different. They make different choices, and it's fun. But yeah,
Tyler's trying to set you up for another show. He's basically saying, I need to get you on another show, and you need to play a Taylor Swift cover.
I do a couple of Taylor Swift covers. I'm a big Tay Tay fan. Like her.
Good, respect. I like it. Yeah. Okay. Where are we? I think we're coming to the last two. I'm just double checking the list here. Who would play you in a biopic of your life?
Great question. It probably depends. I don't know enough about. Hold on, sorry, I got to plug. I just realized my computer is blinking. I'm gonna plug it in real quick. I feel like I don't know enough about who all the modern people are that are famous actors or whatever, because I'm really bad with names these days. But I used to get told people that I look like, and I never agree with it. I never ever agree with who people say they remind me of. So I don't want to say any of those actors because I don't think I look like Jason Schwartzman, and I'm sick of people saying it. No. At this point, you could basically hire anybody with a beard and long hair that's a good enough actor, probably, and get away with it.
Chris Hemsworth.
Ah, shucks. God, I wish I had the dedication to make my body look anything like Chris Hemsworth's. I just love beer too much.
Yeah, also, you would need to have lots of money for the private trainers. I mean, that's the reality.
True. That's the catch-22, right? Like, everyone wants to look like a superhero, but to have that dedication and that diet and that workout, you need somebody knocking on your door going, "It's time, we're doing it now." Otherwise, you'll never do it. I love Chris Hemsworth. I'll take that. That's a great answer. I'll own that. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, Danny's very complimentary about you, you know. You've paid them well. Okay,
Yeah.
last question. You're about to get in a fight. What's the theme music that starts to play in your head?
Dead Kennedys. Dead Kennedys, probably California Uber Alice.
Good choice.
That's probably my fight music. I'm not a fighter. I'm not a fighter at all. I love judo. I used to take judo classes regularly. I was actually about to start judo up again, and then COVID.
Yeah. COVID.
So yeah, being in a dojo is probably not the safest thing to do right now.
That's it. And judo's a very contact.
Oh yeah.
Even more so than a lot of the martial arts.
Oh yeah, it's all about contact. So but yeah, I love martial arts and I love superheroes and comics and all that stuff, but I'm just not a fighter. I'm a pacifist, as a matter of fact. I'm all about de-escalation. I'm always I think there's always a better way. There's always a better way than getting violent. There's no need. Although I did once almost get into a fight at the King's Head in Winnipeg. Right. I've never actually been in a fight, but I almost got into a fight at the King's Head in Winnipeg because I was coming downstairs from the top to the outside, and I saw a man, as I came down the stairs, I saw a man grab this woman by her arm and pull it and scream at her, said, "We're leaving!" And I saw red, and I ran over and I pushed them apart. And I said to him, "Hey man, there's no need for that. We're not doing that." And he got right up in my face and was like, and then I felt fringers grab me and pull me backwards and say, "Ryan, no, Ryan, no." Because what I had missed is right before I had come downstairs, that woman had been grabbing beer bottles, shattering them on the ground and screaming and grabbing beer like off people's tables and like screaming and throwing them at the cage and screaming and like hitting him on the arm and running and shit. So she had been just going nuts. And all I saw was him grab her arm and jerk her. And I had missed that entire thing. And so I almost got myself into a big old fight in Winnipeg and potentially barred from re-entry to Canada over a misunderstanding.
And the worst thing would be that if you guys had started a fight, she would have jumped you as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would have been not good.
No.
It really just reinforced my pacifism, to be honest. I was like, why did I do that? That's stupid.
But very gallant at the same time.
Yeah, it was dumb, but yeah.
Dumb but gallant. You find in most stories that is always the case.
It's true.
Well, Ryan, we're coming to the end of our chat, and I want to really thank you for joining me. I appreciate that you're still feeling poorly, so that means a lot that you've still taken time to come on the show and entertain and tell us the stories of your life. The last thing I ask every guest is just a very simple question, and it's basically, is there any words of wisdom? Is there a Yoda moment that you can pass on to up-and-coming performers? Something, words of wisdom, and it can be as simple as, just do it. A lot of people have said that, or run away. Someone else said that. But is there wisdom, something you could impart to new performers that can inspire them when they're trying to get into this difficult profession?
Absolutely. I think for me, the most important lessons that I've learned and the things I really hold dear and true to my heart are, they're the classic maxims, but I think there's a large amount of truth to them. And I think you can find multiple ways to find that truth. In the show must go on is the biggest thing. The show must always go on. If you've got something set up, you find a way to make it happen. You keep going, you push through. Little problems they're little. They're exactly that. And you can't let them become giant in your brain. You can't let them take over. Just because, like, say a prop goes missing, no audience in the world is going to mind if you mime it. No audience in the world is going to mind if you sub a broom for a gun or anything like that. Like, people have imagination, and if you're putting on a good enough, and you're giving it your all and putting your heart into it, it doesn't matter. Like, the show must go on. You don't, just because somebody in the cast pissed you off before the show, just because you found out something terrible before the show, just because you just because you're not feeling it that day, you got to push through and keep going. And because the audience is there, and they're the only reason that any of us have anything to do. That's the only reason that we're not screaming into a void, is the audience. And you have to respect them, and you got to care about them, and they're vital. And there's always time 1 hour later or 2 hours later. It's like, it's at most 2 hours, right? There's nothing that's happened or going to happen that is so drastically and vitally important for you to stop a show and end it and leave. You can keep going. You can find a way. It's the most important thing to me. I've watched people leave shows for the dumbest reasons and upset the entire order of things. Luckily, those for like cabarets or burlesque style shows and things like that, you know, in which case we find a way and the show goes on. We keep moving.
Yep.
But that's one of the only ways you can really lose my respect as a performer. Is if to do that kind of thing. That's just it's the most vital building block. It's showing no respect for the audience and no respect for everybody else that's a part of the show. You find a way. There's always a way. It doesn't matter. If I lose my voice, I'm still going to do the show. Like,
am I not mistaken? Did you not have your guitar at one point go missing?
I did.
Yeah, was that not in Winnipeg or somewhere?
That was in Winnipeg this past year. My guitar got stolen off of the altar in the church that I was performing in. I was performing in a church in a what do you call it, in the small room, the small prayer room.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name for it. I grew up Catholic. I still can't remember the name. But finished the show, set my guitar on the altar, stepped backstage for 2 seconds to change shirts, and I wear snap buttons, so it was literally just like snap and then go. And I came back and the guitar was gone. It was that fast, just quick. And some guy had heard me playing for the show, just kind of waited for the audience to leave and kind of hung around and kept watching, saw me leave the room, and then just bolted in, snatched it, and bolted out. And it was wild. I didn't know what to do, but you know, the Fringe Circuit is so amazing. Within 15 minutes, I had 4 offers of backup guitars from people in the city in Winnipeg who love the Fringe. Within an hour, a friend of mine in Los Angeles hated my guitar at a pawn shop, or like down the street from the church, located, and confirmed it to be mine. So like the community came together like that and fixed it. I had no problem, and then that was it.
And
the only problem I had, the only problem I had was with they were the only obstacle to getting my guitar back, because the pawn shop can't just be like, yeah, it's your guitar, here you go. Clearly, they got to work. They got to go through the police and make sure that I'm on the up and up, and I'm not, you know. And so it did. The pawn department for the police doesn't open until 7 in the morning, and they close at 3:30. So they were already closed for the day by the time this guitar was stolen. So I had to wait till the next day. I woke up at 7 and I called them for hours. I couldn't get anybody. It kept going to voicemail. Then I called the police proper, and they were like, "Oh, you want the pawn division?" and tried to transfer me. And I was like, "Transfer me." And he's like, "Oh, well, they're across the hallway. I'll walk to the phone and I'll walk over and I'll tell them to call you." And he took my number down, and I heard nothing for another 3 hours.
Oh, geez.
Kept calling the pawn division that whole time. And I finally had to go online. I had to go on Facebook and Twitter. And I've made a big post about it. And my friends from all around the world, not just Winnipeg, everywhere, just lit up the Winnipeg police force on Twitter. And I had the guitar back in my hands within an hour. Because
excellent, the power of the people.
Want the bad press. Yeah, bad press is powerful. But yeah, so that was it was unsurprising to me that the police was the biggest obstacle. But
yeah,
and I you know, it was a wild ride. But the show went on. I did the show that next day.
That's it. It's a great example of the message you're giving. The show must go on. Wonderful. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for joining me today on the show. I really appreciate it. Okay, right, I'm sorry. I was trying to keep you under an hour and a half. I'm so sorry.
I'm not worried about it.
This is what happens. We start losing track of time. Ryan, thank you very much for joining. It has
My
been
pleasure.
a great pleasure. I've learned a lot today. I hope the audience have. There's been some wonderful comments. Obviously, the audience that you bribed to listen as well. You know, to add beautiful comments for you. But I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to running into you again, hopefully, in probably next year, hopefully in the Fringe Circuits, and we'll grab a beer.
I knocked on the table and he thought it was the door. Sharon, it's me.
That's okay. So, Ryan,
Probably
what I'm going to do is I'm going to
2021.
pop you into the green room and I'm going to sign off the show, and I'll come back and just catch up with you in a couple of minutes. But ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Adam Wells, a fabulous musician, fringe artist, theatre performer, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Ryan Adam Wells. That was a fantastic show. I'm so glad that he joined us, even though he isn't feeling 100%. You know, there you go. The show must go on. He's living up to his own motto and standards, folks. Now, if anyone here is interested in joining me on the show, do drop me an email at Calum, Lykan, Storyteller@gmail.com. I am always looking for more guests. I do have a list, but we're always looking for more entertaining people to chat, to join, to have fun on the show. We also have our Patreon account. So if you are enjoying the show, do consider becoming a patron of it. I hate this asking for money nonsense, you know, but I'm a performer, so come on, I live in poverty most of my life. No, the reason I'm set up this Patreon is actually, in a way, it's to help develop the show, it's to help develop the studio, but more importantly, I've decided I'd really like to be able to give my guests something back. Not necessarily payment, but a gift or something, just to acknowledge the fact that they've spent an hour, 50 minutes, 2 hours, 20 minutes chatting to me and you. So the main purpose of the Patreon account now is really to give something back to the guests, just to acknowledge the time they spent and also to thank them for spending the time. If you're interested in becoming a patron of A Scotsman Talks To, it's scrolling at the bottom of the screen. For those on the podcast, just search A Scotsman Talks To on Patreon to become a patron. Patreon to become a patron. It's very confusing. Don't know why they just didn't name it the same thing. I mean, just makes it more awkward for people like me. But anyway, coming up on A Scotsman Talks To, our next guest is Gary McLean, gentleman from Calgary, actor, theatre. He does actually his own interview show. So it's going to be quite fun because we're probably going to be trying to interview each other in a very confusing manner. So coming up next Thursday, no Tuesday. No, told you, sold out. Tuesdays are gone. Couldn't pay me enough. No M&Ms in the green room. No pineapple pizza. None of that. Basically, Thursday's paid for it all. So, this next Thursday, and I need to check because I'm terrible, the 9th, because we're in July already, in case somebody hadn't noticed. July the 9th, Thursday, July the 9th, same place, same time, 7 p.m. here. Gary McLean, join me for another episode of A Scotsman Talks To. I'm Calum Lykan. I've been your host. Tonight we had the wonderful Ryan Adam Wells on A Scotsman Talks To, but I'll see you all next week. Have fun, have a lovely evening, and enjoy your week until we speak again.